guys, welcome to Gilbert Public Schools Professional Growth and Development's YouTube live stream. I am your host, Britt Bingold. I am an instructional specialist for Gilbert Public Schools, and we are going to be chatting about just how this has all gone. I mean, we're approaching the end of the school year, and we're very excited, and I think we would like to reflect back on our practice. I think we always have students, or we always want our students to reflect on their practices and their learning and their growth. And I think it's good for us as administrators and teachers and just educators in general to reflect back on those practices because it's so important. We really just don't know what we're heading into next year. It could be, hey, we're going back and it's going to be normal, yay. It could be, hey, we're going to go back and it's going to be blended learning, we're going to go back and it's going to be remote. And, I hope that doesn't happen because I don't think I could teach first grade anymore. But I think we need to be prepared for whatever's to come. And so we've learned a lot, I think, as a district. I think we've learned a lot as an educator community through this process. I think our parent community has learned a lot. So I kind of want to just watch the impact of, that March right after spring break time until all through April and into May of how this has gone, and from different viewpoints and different perspectives, different grade levels and teachers. And so we're going to talk about that today. And I think it's going to be a great time. It's going to be more of like a round table type conversation. So if you look at the bottom, I always point at the wrong side, there is a link tree. Okay. I made a link tree because our links started getting a little crazy. It's we've got like a remote learning page that has many PDs. We've got a Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Now we have YouTube. Soon we'll have a fall course catalog out there for you guys. If we are going to be able to go back regular, we'll have all of our fall instructional practices catalogs out soon. So there's a lot of moving parts, I feel like, in our department. And if we just had one link to link them all, that would be helpful for everyone, just to bookmark. So if you haven't actually seen this link, it is Linktree. Their tree is separated by a period, and then it's /GPS PGD. And then you'll have, basically, it's not fancy, it's just a page, but it's just bookmarks of all of our stuff that has to do with our department. Okay. So again, remember though, with that, we do have remote learning tips and tricks. I think everybody's kind of wrapping up and they've seen this before, but we do have playlists. So if you're still struggling to, and we're going to talk about playlists hopefully later with the teachers that are using them. But if you're still struggling to figure out how to format stuff online, go in there because there's templates that can help you. And they're in the Employee Hub. Okay. And again, always feel free to access on our social media. Because we are pretty responsive. Wendy is really great at doing the Facebook, and then I kind of head up the Instagram and the Twitter. I'm calling it the Twitter, whatever. All right. Last thing, I would appreciate it very, very, very much if you are an educator in Arizona, anywhere in the world, and you like to hear ed chats about topics ranging from right now, obviously remote learning, but maybe next year we're talking about feedback or we're talking about formative assessments. If you could hit subscribe for me, it's going to be right here at the bottom of your screen. And then if you could click the little bell there, it'll actually tell you when we're going live. So it kind of gives you that little reminder in your email like, hey, one of your YouTube channels are going live right now. And you might have forgotten and thought, oh yeah, I want to pop in and watch that. So if you could hit subscribe and hit that little bell, that would be great. Today, our main thoughts, like I said, is as we approach the end of the year, what successes have we had and in this adjustment, and just looking at a variety of perspectives as we do that. So I am joined today by an awesome admin team ranging from the elementary grades all the way up to secondary. They've had vastly different experiences probably throughout this process. And so I am super excited to have Melinda Murphy, Lisa Creasier come on with me, Jim Leeper, and Mary, I always mess up your name. Longyan.
Longyan.
Yes, so I said it kind of right. Okay, I did. So thank you guys so much for joining me today on the live stream. You guys are, awesome. I know sometimes it seems like it would be super scary to have to talk in front of who knows how many people. And I really appreciate you guys coming on. So the first thing I just wanted you guys to kind of talk about and chat with each other, your different experiences on when this went down, when we went into lockdown mode for COVID-19 and the quarantine and the transition all of a sudden to remote learning. How did that go for you as a principal? Like, how did you feel? How did that go with like your staff, the parent community? And I don't know, I'm going to throw it to Mary first, and then maybe you guys could just kind of chat and let me know how it went. We'll start with like an elementary perspective first.
Sure. Yeah. So when this was all going down, like going back into spring break, watching, flying through LAX to South Carolina and looking at like the masks starting to appear, right? The entire time I'm watching the news with my stepdaughter in South Carolina, I'm going like, oh man, what is going to happen? And then as the schools started, the school districts, like it was Alhambra first and then a few others, my thought that kept coming through my head is like, if we don't close, I'm going to be responsible for taking out all of Morrison Ranch. Like, I was so nervous. So I was really relieved to hear that it had been taken out of our hands. And I think that the information chain was the biggest thing I wanted to do to like help with my teachers. So, well, not just my teachers, but my entire staff. And so anytime we saw something like published by Ducey or coming from the superintendent's office, anything, I use Remind with our staff. And so I would send just a little news blast like, hey, here's the newest, and then the link to the article. And so I was doing that multiple times a day. And then I don't want to talk too much. I feel like I'm just talking and talking. Is that okay? You tell me when it's time to shut up, right?
But I'll tell you. I'll give the signal or something.
Yeah, give me the signal. So one of the things too that I was very relieved about was that our district stopped and took a breath for that week. And I heard from teachers on our campus and a lot of parents actually that they were glad for that ultimately, because there was that time to go in. And even though everybody was super nervous, having everything that all of our bosses had organized and then everything that our technology department put together to have that week. So there was like a comment a teacher made saying, wait, you mean we get to be creative now, do all the training we haven't had time to do, and then just make connections with kids? I said, yes, go with that thought. And so that was a huge relief once we were able to do that. And I think I read something about companies going to remote learning, or not remote learning, like remote companies, and how over communication is actually the key, because people can't walk by and just ask. And so I try to just keep that information going. And then one of the biggest things I think was when you guys put out the remote playlist PD, I kind of made everybody take that, and then we moved into that just to make it easier for parents. I think we were worried about parents and how they would feel. So going slow to go fast.
Yeah, Wendy said Mary's right. That week really allowed us to get better together than some neighboring districts. I think we kind of were able to breathe, get things settled, and then go. Does anybody else have comments on that you want to talk about? Lisa, you're kind of nodding your head. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would agree. I think, honestly, I just want to give a huge shout out to Gilbert Public Schools, because that week that we had to reset, it was the district office that really put some things in place that led us to the success that we've had. If we had not have had all of the background work that they did and the plans that they put in place, and then they clearly communicated to us, I don't think we'd be where we are right now.
No.
I would agree with that. Tech services was crazy good at pulling things together and putting things in place so that they were accessible, they were easy to understand. And I had some of the same sentiments from teachers as Mary did, just about like, okay, this is good. I'm going to get a few new tools that I've been wanting, but I just haven't had the time, to spend and then actually go and use them, because I have to, not, they don't just sit on the shelf kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I love all of their quick links. Oh yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Sorry, I'm going to piggyback on what Melinda said about adding tools to the toolbox. It's something we talk about as educators. And when remote learning happened, it was an opportunity for us to add tools to our toolbox. And many of my teachers throughout this process have dabbled in these tools that they hadn't been exposed to in the past. And it's something they can implement, hopefully, when we go back to school with students in August.
Right. Yeah, and I hope so. And Leanne's here. She's so excited. She's like, thank you. We all get better together, to quote Wendy. Yeah, I think I've been taking their webinars. Like, I find it like fascinating. And I mean, like Seesaw and all these different platforms that I knew about, but as not a teacher in the classroom, I really didn't know what they did. So those are great things now. I think that teachers could go in and say, even in a face-to-face situation, I know how to use a Flipgrid. So like we can do one in class tomorrow, which I think is really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. How is it going now? I think like everybody was like, woo, we got it. We're going. And then Melinda's smiling, and I kind of want Melinda to talk about this. So high schoolers, what are they doing? What's happening?
Not a lot. It's kind of what we predicted. Our kids that are high flying A kids that are just engaged in school anyway, they're still showing up. It's our kids in the middle that, without a compelling reason to do schoolwork like attendance or a grade, they're not showing up and doing what we had hoped they would, which is really too bad in a lot of cases, because teachers have put together some crazy cool, amazing things. And I've really had to tell them, like, I know you've only got 30% or 40% of your kids there, but for those 30 or 40% that are there,
right,
like, yes, they want you to be providing them something they want to be learning, and that is our job as educators. And so that's been hard. It's been a little discouraging for teachers. It's also been very eye-opening that one of the compelling reasons to attend school is the grade. And so if we've learned
having to go,
yeah. And if we've learned something, it's that we need to figure out how to make the learning process the compelling part, not just the grade. It's also taught us that kids need immediate feedback to stay engaged, that where teachers have been giving assignments and giving feedback back immediately, their attendance rates and their level of engagement is higher overall.
Have you guys seen, and I don't know if Lisa, you've seen this either, but like when teachers do smaller group WebExes and feedback that way, have any of your teachers done that you know of? And is there success with that over having like a giant WebEx meeting?
I think most definitely our teachers have preferred the smaller because they feel like they can actually interact with kids.
Okay.
It's different. It's different having a screen full of 30 kids than having a classroom full of 30 kids. And I think teachers feel overwhelmed with 30 little Brady Bunch squares. And so they prefer, what I'm finding is that they are scheduling the smaller groups because they prefer that. So we're seeing that commonly.
Well, and I feel like as a student, like if I was scheduled with only like 4 other people, I'd be like, I really need to go. Like, otherwise it's going to be like real awkward, or I'm going to feel really bad. But like, I think what we're kind of getting to, and Vicki said, the learning process has to be the compelling part. And I think that's something we're working on as a department, is how do we make that happen for kids? Because a lot of it has been driven by grades. I mean, that is what it is. I mean, that college has done that, right? They, especially in the high school area, they know they have to have these grades. It might not so much be in for elementary, but I'm just learning about will drivers, like what drives people's will to learn. And it's something I've been researching, and I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but the mastery and the purpose kids are the kids we're seeing. The kids that like to have mastery of skills, or they need a purpose to their day. And then the kids that are belonging may have come in and out because they want to see each other. But the autonomy kids who are like, that's the exit. The school year is over. Like, those are the kids that are out. Elementary, is that you guys having similar, or are most kids coming? What do you guys know from your teachers?
Go ahead, Jim.
At Meridian, we have about a third of our students that are participating in, and I got to piggyback off Melinda again one more time. The more engaging the lesson, the more turnout you get over and over again. So we talk about that in the classroom all the time. The best classroom management is an engaging lesson plan. So if you plan to engage your students, not only in the classroom, but in remote learning as well, the more turnout we get and the more participation we've gotten throughout this 6 or 8 weeks that we've done this. So it is important to plan those engaging lessons for the students to want to be a part of it, not because of the grade, not because they have to, but because they enjoy being a part of it.
Right.
I think that another thing about elementary, particularly primary, is that because we have standards-based grading, they don't often know yet what it means to only do something for points. So they are truly excited to see their teachers. They want to see their friends, like in the Brady Bunch screen, and also their parents really want them to be occupied. So that's really great as well. A challenge we had at the beginning was actually that I love our kindergarten teachers so much. Kindergarten teachers, first of all, are the best humans on the earth. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, I agree.
They are the best humans there are.
They should get paid more. Wendy says it all the time.
It's true. They were scheduling 3 or 4 WebEx meetings per day. So they would do like calendar, and then they'd come back and do some math. And so it was great if you had a 5-year-old, because you're like, hey, go over there. That teacher wants to talk to you. Yep. But what we ended up realizing is we were kind of cannibalizing each other's WebEx times. And so we ended up having to do a WebEx master schedule so that each grade level had a half-hour slot per day. And then we also decided that like there's a little more like community building, but silliness happening. Like, oh, here's my baby sister, or even me, like, here's my dog. And so that kind of stuff was happening in WebEx. So we also tried to shift over to our WebExes were for community building, checking in. Then we used Screencastify to do the instruction so that the teachers could do a little 5 or 10 minute thing. Kids could watch it at their own pace over and over. And then when they got back into WebEx, it was to ask questions and review things and that kind of thing. We have, it's dwindled over time. We've had some parents saying like, oh, are you really going to the 21st? Because we want to go to the cabin. I mean, or because like life is hard, right? We have parents we have 2 medical professionals. And so it's been dwindling a little bit, but we do definitely have quite a bit of participation, especially with the live events.
Yeah. Lisa, Wendy asked, do you think the secondary teachers will continue using small groups in person? Like when they go back into face-to-face, I think is what Wendy's asking. When they go back.
And it's a really good question. I think what we'll probably see first and foremost is using tech tools more efficiently. I think that will probably be the primary focus because of so many aha moments about how to use tech tools. And so it'll probably be, if we continue to use those small groups, I think we'll use the tech tools as the engagement piece and as the vehicle to get there. In terms of, if I understand what you're asking, almost like centers in a classroom or pulling kids from the rest of the class.
Small group, just check in feedback. Let's talk about, whatever we need to talk about. Maybe it's an essay, maybe it's problems, that they missed in class that maybe they need a little extra attention. Kind of that model that we see in elementary a lot, right? And maybe we lose a little bit when we go up to the higher grades,
We do lose it, obviously, when we go to grades. I bet that can you more on the technology side than stuff, but there may be teachers who make that jump automatically, and others who just need additional support.
Right. Yeah, I think Vicki said, what's hot right now is the kids are like, I got all these things. Like kids got it down. Like I got Seesaw now, I got Flipgrid, I got it, or whatever they've been using. So now can we leverage that in a way, that now, okay, you guys over here will be making this, doing an online station. You guys will be working on whatever, maybe it's not online, and I'm pulling these kids. Maybe they'll feel more comfortable with doing that now because they've done it over technology, which I think is even more awkward, but maybe it's not for some. And even that's kids too. I mean, I used to do that in my classroom. I'd have stations, and one station was me. I mean, you know, and I needed to talk about essay stuff. What were you going to say, Melinda?
To say that's the part I'm really interested in, is seeing what translates into the fall.
Yeah.
I was talking with one of my teachers 2 minutes before we started here, and she was like, I've learned some new things, but I will be relieved to go back to instruction face to face. And she's one of my amazing, awesome teachers. And so it'll be interesting to see what tools they choose to keep and what they really prefer to deliver, you know, themselves. But I think you're going to see more tools integrated that aren't just technology for technology's sake, but really embedded into an instructional design, right? And that's the goal, is that there's purpose behind the technology. We're not just doing a Quizlet, or we're teaching a Kahoot. That's my favorite line ever. But there's really some thought into, what do I want the outcome to be? What is a tool I can use to get me there?
Right. Kind of like Weston said at the beginning of the year. Yeah, for sure. Jim, do you have anything to add on that? Do you think your teachers will take some of the things they've learned and move it into fall?
You know, I'm positive about that. I've heard from many teachers that this has given them an opportunity to not only have the time to gather these tools, but they've liked them so much that they want to incorporate them in the fall too. So that's really helpful, that they've had the time to do these professional developments, to be exposed to that, to practice it, you know, during the remote learning time, that when students do come back, they're familiar with it and they're ready to go.
And they're ready to go. Yeah. So I'm going to ask just a quick question. If, you know, how have you guys seen data teams working with the remote learning process? Like, have you seen teachers get together with PLCs and be successful? Have you seen teachers get together and have it be, or maybe teachers aren't getting together and they're feeling like little islands? And have you seen like stress levels of teachers be different based on that? Like, if they do get together and they share that workload, you know, we as a department, we just have to, I have to say, we preach that collective teacher efficacy, because it's just number one on Hattie. And it is the highest for success for students. And I think that's still true in a remote learning environment. So have you guys seen things that are successful? I know Mary, I think, has on her campus.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much that I think that there's a lot of like scary stuff out in the world. And what I love to concentrate on is like how much magic is happening in Gilbert Public Schools. And then obviously I get to see firsthand at Greenfield. Because at the beginning, in our school in particular, we have phenomenal teachers, but we changed because of Ready Gen coming in. A lot of people who had been in the same grade for a decade said, all right, fine, I have to learn a bunch of new stuff. This is the year. So every single one of our teams shifted around. Right. What that meant, though, at the beginning of the year was everybody was kind of like, ooh, I know you're amazing and I'm afraid to mess up in front of you. And so everybody kind of had to, even though they were friends, build trust again as like educators and members of a data team or PLC. And so over the course of the year, I know we've got like great people working together, but this was a wonderful like tipping point in some ways for some teams to really say like, okay, actually it's way better if we divide and conquer. And so even one team that I have big teams. So my first grade team is 6, my kindergarten is 7, we've got 5 everywhere else. And when we look at a team that's very eclectic is in terms of experience, like many years in the same grade level, many years in Gilbert, but different grade levels, brand new, all their skills have been so like harmonious. You know, the ones just out of college going, I'll build the website for our whole grade level, and somebody else doing the remote playlist for this, you know, and that has really been beautiful. And it's really been nice to see, even as I hop on the meetings every Wednesday, we still do them, and I hop in and just like the interactions, you can see that they're finding relief in each other, and that feels really good to see.
Jim, you see anything similar? Or?
You know, that we've done data teams for 2 years now, and I've loved data teams, teachers looking at standards and giving them new instruction, right? You're teaching the standard. And what remote learning has really done for us is now it gives us time to really enrich that standard that we've spent so much time planning for and doing. Yeah. So teachers are collaborating, they're talking about ideas and projects and things that can enrich those standards that we've spent so much time teaching. that the students are enjoying it, and I think the teachers are enjoying collaborating on not only the beginning with the instruction with
Right.
students in school, but now we're remote learning where they're enjoying talking about enriching those standards and giving us time to do that. So they've really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's a unique time, I think, for teachers because it did shift a little bit to why are we teaching this? What do they need to know? And can we have some fun? Like, how are we going to get them back to us? And I think it was kind of like a good thing, you know. Lisa, go ahead.
Well, say when you start thinking about teachers, why are we doing this and what do they know? What's important? Well, I think that's where our data teams have really gone over the last month. The what do they need to know with so kids relatively who are logged, and I say relatively because we're talking about 30 kids in a classroom. We
Right.
might be talking about 20 or 22, and then it's dwindled from there as well.
Right.
It's been tough. It's been tough for teachers to really look at current data, to really look at where we are and where they want to go. So what some of our data teams have really take some opportunities to talk about what do they need to know to be successful next year, and
Right.
how are we gonna measure that at the beginning of the year, so that our data teams, several of them, have really been looking forward and talking about how do we get a start coming out of this, where we know some kids have only been motivated by grade, where we know others have taken every opportunity and excelled. We quite possibly are going to face a fall where we have more need for differentiation than ever. And
We
so
might have
that's
definitely some discrepancies on the kids that hung on, and earned all this stuff versus the kids that kind of checked out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that has been a conversation. Interestingly, we even have one data team that's reported a couple of kids who have reached out to teachers and said, what are you going to do next year so that I don't have to review everything that my classmates aren't doing, because I learned it. So there's some kids who are pushing the teachers too, which is nice.
That is nice. That's awesome. Yeah. And I know the high schoolers, I mean, they're probably, Melinda, the seniors are crushed, right? I mean, they're doing their graduation. I mean, a lot of that stuff is hard. And I think that gives that negativity. But, you know, thank you guys so much for coming. I mean, we're almost through our time, but I just want, like, if you could just let your teachers know, and teachers in the district, your teachers at your campus, but teachers in the district and teachers everywhere, as we get closer to a year, what's like one thing you want them to know? What, you know, I'm just going to go through each of you, and I'll start with Melinda, if you don't mind, but like, what's something you want them to like leave going into summer feeling like?
Oh, that'll make me cry.
Well,
that they right here.
I know, right? That they matter.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, being an educator is hard. Being a teacher is hard, and they get beat up so much out there. But the reality is they matter. Right now, they are some of the glue that is holding this all together. And they also need to know that parents know that. The amount of support and just appreciation that has come out of my community, and I'm sure that's true across the district, has been phenomenal. Just thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for the time you put in. And I think going into summer, they need to know that no matter what it looks like in the fall, they have to know that what they've done over the last 9 weeks has been valuable. It's been important, but that they matter.
And especially, I mean, this is Teacher Appreciation Week, and they're used to, you know, I mean, other things. I mean, I'm a secondary teacher, so I used to not get hardly anything, but the elementary teachers get stuff. So they're probably like, what is happening? But, but I remember getting like a couple Starbucks cards and being like, thank you. But definitely for sure. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to, of course, echo everything Melinda said, because it couldn't be truer. And I don't think I've ever been more proud of my teachers as I've been this last quarter, because the transition from what the district prepared for us to launch us, and then what the teachers did with that information, it's just, Melinda says, it makes me want to cry. And it's just amazing to me when you think about it. But I also want to take 30 seconds here because I think we would be remiss if we didn't also recognize the work that our paras are doing. Because our paras are reaching out, supporting students. They're talking with teachers. They're making sure that they are a segue and doing the things that need to be done. And so I just want to thank the work that they're doing as well, because they have absolutely not quit.
Yeah. And everybody, actually, I mean, the custodial staff, everybody's been pulling.
Yes.
I mean, they're wiping down those chairs or those legs. I am just like, I feel bad every time I have to go to my office for anything and I break a seal. I'm like, I'm so sorry. And I like find her. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I had to get my keyboard. This has gone on too long with just the little laptop. But yes, for sure. Okay, go ahead. Jim, what do you want to say to your teachers?
You know, I think that as teachers and as administrators, we want to give our teachers as many tools as we can to be the best, most effective teacher they can be. And, you know, it's funny that this 4 weeks or 5 weeks that we've been doing this have given these teachers lots of different tools. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you go into your tool chest and you pull out the same tool every day. Right. But I feel like the tools that they have now will be more effective for the diverse learners that we have. So I really appreciate the time that they've had for that, and the time that they can implement these new tools right now and then hopefully use them next year. So it's been good professional development for us.
Yes, it has.
I think the ties, you know, the webinars have been awesome. And I think the teachers have really taken advantage of it because they needed it. It was like instant application, which is what teachers usually want out of PD. And it was necessary for sure. Cool. All right, Mary, we're going to end on you.
All right. Well, I think that most people go into education because like they have a servant heart. And so I've said this a couple of times to people, but I feel like how lucky are we that we get to go serve, because right now the world needs us. And I feel like I saw somebody, it was like an Instagram little thing that said, we now know schools are not just the glue, but the glitter and the glue that we get all together. And like, I can say, as soon as you started talking and Melinda said she was going to cry, I felt the tears prick, because I'm so proud to have seen our staff and our whole Gilbert Public Schools come together in such amazing ways. And it's like, we all know this is our time to serve. And this is what our community, our country, our state, whatever, that we need to give. And we're here at this time. Why? All of us together at this time, the talent that's pouring out, but the heart that's pouring out. And I guess I would love all the teachers to know, like, I'm so incredibly proud. I'm just one girl. What does my opinion matter? But
it matters,
it's beautiful to see.
You know, I mean, I think they're not, you know, they hear it, but they're here. It's like you always focus on the negative, right? You hear amazing things and you hear great things from parents all the time. But as a teacher, I would always focus on that one thing that the parent said that it wasn't going well. And so I think they need to hear it. You know, everybody loves an attaboy every once in a while. And then Wendy said, gotta love glitter, because it's
that's Wendy.
And Leanne, as also said, ties are already planning, and I actually have just been, you know, I think the ties and then in PGD have really come together because we've had, you know, we were like, okay, we got to mix these two together to make this effective for our teachers, because they need it, you know. So thank you guys so much for coming on. I appreciate it so much. It was so fun to talk to you. And so I'm going to go ahead and head you guys backstage and bring the teachers. But thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. Bye. You have a great summer. All right. So that was awesome. Okay, so our next topic, we're going to go ahead and basically kind of do the same thing, but we're going to look at teacher perspectives. And so I tried to grab a vast variety of teacher perspectives from elementary to secondary. And how are they feeling? You know, how did it start? Where are we at now? Are they working together at their teams, or are they not? And then what tools and stuff do they love, and what are they going to stick with going into next year? And then also, you know, what's going to kind of kick to the curb. So I'd love to introduce you guys to Suzanne Lunt, Tracy Trillo, Patty Faya, and Shannon Salsi. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Thank you guys so much for coming on with me today.
Sure.
Are you guys excited?
So excited.
Yeah.
We've been back listening to the whole conversation. Do you feel like it's cool that you're like backstage Wendy felt
Yeah.
it was really cool. She was like, I'm backstage. This is my time.
Like rock stars. Yeah.
And I loved it. It was super, super awesome. So let's just start. And you know what, Suzanne, I'm going to start with you. What did you feel like when this all went down? Were you like, you know, I mean, Suzanne and I went on a trip to Houston to a conference, and I had to wear a mask on the plane because I have my chronic illness. And this was when it was just coming out, like barely. And my doctor, Mayo, said, no, you can go, but you have to wear a mask. And so I was the only one on the plane, I think, Suzanne, that had a mask on. And actually it worked great. No one sat next to me. Like they're like, that girl must be sick or something. But what did you feel like when we got back and we went after spring break? How did the transition?
Yeah. Well, after spring break, and I had been out of the country in Chile, and so I was just so glad that I could get back into the country.
Yeah.
But then that week where we had the time to get all the PD thank you ties, I just have to tell you, I was really, really overwhelmed. And I just can remember sitting there looking at my screen as they're trying to train me on WebEx and just crying, you know, and they kept going so fast and I needed to go slow. And it was, you know, really, really hard. Thank goodness they had them recorded and I could go back and watch it one step at a time. And so the beginning of the week, lots of tears. It was really, really overwhelming to me. And then, but then by the end of the week, as I could do some things, I felt hopeful and, you know, I've definitely learned so much. Yeah.
How did anybody else, how did you guys feel like right when it was starting?
I think the same, really kind of overwhelmed. I think embarrassed that my greatest weakness with technology was going to be on display for everyone to see, kind of under a microscope that, she actually doesn't know what she's doing. But like Suzanne said, we had quite a few opportunities out there for those WebExes, and I watched several of them more than once, or would have one of my kiddos' laptops next to my laptop and be doing a step at a time, side by side. But at the same time, like eager that I could get all this new knowledge, that I could start getting things to my kids. So as overwhelmed as I was, and as the tears were flowing, like knowing that that was our purpose, that we were trying to reach kids, and that made it a little bit easier.
For sure.
Especially the first time you see them on a WebEx and you're like, oh, my babies, as you grab the screen.
I think for me, Britt, my first reaction, I was so grateful for our district leadership. And then, you know, as teachers, we're all lifelong learners. So I was just soaking up all that learning and excited to put it into play. And so the first 2 weeks of remote learning after we got done with our closure were so exciting for me because I was using things that I had never used before.
Right.
So that was my initial reaction.
I agree with everybody. And also the parents had a learning curve trying to get their kids onto those Google Classroom. Some of them didn't know what Google Classroom entailed, or so having to walk each parent through that, you know, I'm learning and they're learning and the kids are learning. So you have a big, you know, learning curve for all of us.
Definitely, like you got to be a student for a little bit, right? Like you got thrown into something that you weren't necessarily very knowledgeable on. I mean, I used to tell my students all the time, like, you guys are smarter than me because right now, I mean, as high school kids, they were jack of all trades. Like my brain was so hyper focused on English. Like I literally didn't have room for anything else anymore. I felt like, well, and then there was like mom sections, you know, like doctor's appointment. But like I always would tell them, you guys are more experienced than I am right now with all your different topics. So I think, we all felt like we were fish out of water for sure. How do you feel like it's going now? Like, how did the transition, like, do you feel more comfortable? Are you guys working in teams? Are you collaborating? Like, what's kind of going on? Shannon, I'm going to pop it to you because I know you kind of started off maybe drowning a little and then got better as we went.
Absolutely. Like at first I was overwhelmed with the technology, and having second graders try and use technology is tricky. But I actually, after I figured the playlist
out that professional development did, and thank you so much. That literally saved the day for me. And I had to go on with Julia on a WebEx call, and she walked me through every step of how to make a playlist. At first I was like, I can never make this, but I watched your videos, and it is so much easier for the children to use it because it's all literally in one spot.
Right.
And it's more user friendly for the littles to use because they can just click on one thing and it has everything they need right there to do on and off screen. And so once I showed it to my team and they were like, oh, we can do this, like we'll each take a week. And so we'll get together and plan what we're going to use, like what kind of planning we want for that week, what lessons, and then we would each take a turn doing that week, and then we would look at it together at the end. So there's only 3 of us, but so every 3rd week I would have to make it from scratch. But other than that, it was.
Yeah, but then the other 2 weeks you can focus on those like social emotional relationships, which is really what the kids,
exactly
need. So you could kind of take a breath from the content and really focus on those small groups and those WebEx meetings probably too.
Yes.
That's awesome. So good. Yay. So it kind of just started off rough, but then, and that, what a great rotational system. I mean, that's the power of the data team, right? The PLC collective teacher efficacy is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We would meet the same time every week, and and if there was an emergency meeting, we would, try and get together, like, wait, we're stuck on something, let's meet up, but other than that, we meet the same time every week to go over the lessons. And it's been helpful because professional development's been helpful. Then also the district, like Bristol Udall, will have math lessons posted, and we can just go in there and look for lessons. And why were we always doing this? We always should work together. Other teachers are posting lessons that I can go in and look at.
Right.
Which is great and so helpful.
Awesome. Anybody else have any like successes with just, go ahead, Suzanne.
I really appreciate my team, and we've always been a pretty good team, but we've really come together so that we can divide and conquer. And so we meet at the same time every week, every Monday. And so we are planning together for the following week. And so as we go through what needs to happen for our students, then one person can take this, I can take this, another can take this. And so, we just make our assignments, and then all throughout the week, we're texting or getting back to each other and asking questions about it. But we have our own assignments. That takes so much pressure off of what we are doing, because if I had to do it all, I would be totally overwhelmed. But I think that we've been providing really excellent lessons and activities that are appropriate for kids to do at home, because we've been able to take the time and divide and do this. And so I really look forward to how we can take this into next year of really working closely together. Like, I think it's going to help us to be much, much better teachers.
Great.
Yes.
I think sharing is what teachers do. We kind of get together with other teachers and you say things like, oh my goodness, this lesson kind of fell flat. What did you do? How can I do this better? Or this was an amazing success. And then you have those collaborative conversations. So I think as soon as we were able to kind of get the ball rolling and reach out to our people and do all that sharing and collaborating, it's better for everybody. Our stress level, as well as, the kiddos, being that my kids can have the amazing things that are great from another teacher as well.
Right. Yeah. And I should have asked you guys, but grade level wise, what grade levels do you guys all teach? So Suzanne's kinder.
Yep.
Okay. Tracy, you're 3rd.
Yes.
And then you said you're 2nd already, Shannon. And then Patty, you're middle school. So is it 7th?
I'm 8th English.
You're 8th. Yeah. So we try to get a range of kind of age groups too, because they all do have different accessibility when it comes to tech, right? And I know that, something that our department was passionate about was how do we give them some stuff, but then have them get away from the screen and go do some stuff, right? Because we know that actually is, we should give them small chunks, right? And then go do something, small chunks, and then go do something. Have you guys seen that be successful with your students, or is it really still kind of tricky in remote learning?
Well, that's what I've really believed in as we've tried to get this going, is give them an example. I love Screencastify to kind of teach them, say, let's do it this way. And okay, now it's your turn. And so then kids are able to take it and go do this activity and make that so it's not dependent on a worksheet, but it's something that they can find materials in their own house or outside, and they can take those activities and get going on it. And then the kids send pictures and videos and report back on how they do, and that's really heartwarming.
Yeah. And Suzanne, you did Flipgrid with your kinders.
Oh yeah.
How awesome is that?
That was
Is
amazing.
that how they're sharing some of their work, is using that Flipgrid?
Yeah. I think that I don't get all the participation that I would like to, but the ones that do, it's really great. They're reading their paper and showing what they've done. So I'm really excited to use that in the future, like for homework. We're I can see that we're gonna totally change how we think about
back
homework.
to school night, parents are gonna be like, yeah, we know, we got it. Things are about to change, people. We have
exactly.
Yeah, Patty, what are you thinking? Because you're middle school. What are those middle schoolers doing over there?
It depends on the student. So most of my students, I'm still getting between 30 and 50% participation, depending on the group. My first hour, I'll get still up to 80%. So something that I found that I think we can't underscore enough is that my students participated in large part out of respect for their relationship with me. And so I think that relationships are the foundation of everything. So because I had, thankfully, the opportunity to already build those, I think that they still are participating. And I would get emails, like, Mrs. Fela, can I please have an extra day on this? Because for it to be quality work, I just need an extra day. Of course you can. Like, I'm not counting anything late, right? And the best part, like the moments I live for are, I had a student email me last week and say, could we just schedule an extra WebEx to talk? Because I really miss you. And so I scheduled a WebEx with her, and we just chatted for like 45 minutes about boys, her spring break cruise, her family, and she just needed that social emotional.
Need it so bad right now.
Yes. And so I'm so grateful for WebEx because it allows that.
My daughter, she is not in our district, and she had her first Google Meet this week. And she's in, she was like, she put on her like blush and like a necklace and like, I did her hair. I have not gotten this girl out of her Christmas pajamas the entire time we've been doing this. And she was like, Mom, I get to see my friends. And it was a small group and she presented, and she was so proud. Like, and I think that's so important for sure. Megan said she loves that idea for homework, like the Flipgrid thing. Like, you could even do it where you can go home, show me your work, narrate it. It's so good for them to narrate their learning, because that means they're having that metacognition about their learning. And Flipgrid's great for that. Seesaw is great for that. And I've learned all about Seesaw from Stacy from the Ties, because I've been doing some of their webinars too. So for sure, we've got so many teachers have reported that they know their kids even more now, which I think has been awesome, because they've done those small groups, and they know their kids' dogs, and they know their kids' houses. Like, my daughter's like, look, and this is my bedroom, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, is it clean? What's happening? But I think it's been for better or worse, right? We've gotten some, it's been a shift, but I don't think it's been all bad.
Not at all.
It's been pretty successful. I know the high school teachers are having a harder time for sure. And bless them. I get it. I was a high school teacher. I would be devastated if they didn't want to come see me. I would think I would take it personally. But then I would also kind of get it, because they were like, okay, well, I'm not getting graded. You're like, what am I going to do? So what do you guys feel like you've taken away tool wise that you want to move forward into fall next year, no matter what fall next year looks like for you? Whether it's just you're going to go back to normal, or you're going to have some type of blended, who knows, we could have a blended flipped, we could have a blended classroom. We don't know what we're going to be having. But what do you guys like latching onto that you think you want to take forward?
I think some of the technology pieces for sure. But then interestingly, with the feedback in Google Classroom, I have a lot of kiddos who you give them that immediate feedback and they fix it right away and they send it back and ask more questions, where during the year you grade something, it kind of gets stuffed in a backpack and it moves on, unless you say, I actually want to sit down and talk about your mistakes. Let's do this really deliberately. I think that they're more reflective with some of those things. So I really like that part as well. Growing with different kinds of feedback and different forms of feedback.
Yeah, every once in a while I would do that with my high school kids. They'd all be working on their essays quietly, you know, with their headphones on, whatever they were doing. And I was just sitting with literally 30 tabs open and going in order. And it looked like I was doing nothing, but that was the worst day ever. But like, because my brain was like reading and trying to give them feedback automatically in real life time. That was dumb. I should have just had them in small groups and had them doing other things in stations. But there were times where they needed that feedback. So yeah, I mean, and also there's a couple extensions too that Ties have shown me where you can add it to Google Docs and you can give audio feedback. And you don't even have to type anything. So you could read what they're doing, click the button and talk to them verbally and then move on, you know? And I think that's something, I think those are the little things that it's like, ooh, that could just make me a little less, I don't have to grade or type or write quite as much. It might make your life a little easier, you know, teacher life faster.
I see that totally in Flipgrid too, as they're reading their paper to me. And then there's a place for me to just respond and I can just click, record, there it is. And they get that feedback right away. So,
right.
Yes, I do like that Google. We've used Google Classroom, but not to this extent before in second grade. So they're sending me their writing through Google Classroom, and I can comment or, you know, help them fix the punctuation or whatever. And then I comment, oh, don't forget to use the uppercase letter here. And I just type it back. And so it's been kind of fun to see their writing this way. You know, they're actually typing things and sending it to me.
Well, they're practicing typing, and then Shannon, you probably, especially with second grade, could have a lot of canned comments already ready to go, like capitalization, this, and then you can just slide those over if you didn't in Google Classroom. You can actually have a whole canned list that you can just make and use every single time.
Wow.
Or did you freeze or are you just excited?
It froze and now I'm back. Okay. But I'm very excited also.
Okay. But yeah, and so we can help you with that and Ties can help you with that too. I like what Sean just said. It's funny how technology notifications, like it's like that little red thing on your phone and you're like, I need to know it. Like it's kind of like that with our kids, right? Our students are seeing like, oh, I got feedback in Google Classroom. I got to go check it.
Yes.
You know, it's like in college too. I remember like they would give us feedback in like a discussion thread or like a point, and I'd be like, oh, I want to go on and see what I got. So, you know, I think there are, you know, they are the Leanne says they are the text generation, right? So getting that, you know, I mean, Google Classroom kind of does work like a scrolling feed, like a social media does, and I think having any of that feedback is awesome. Any other tools that you guys are thinking about using and taking into next year? I mean, even like a WebEx, would you do anything with WebEx? Like, what are you guys thinking? They're like, no, we're done.
Yeah. I just don't want to talk too much, but two things that I've started learning about that I'm going to continue to use are Google Keep. I didn't know about that till Britt showed it to me, and I've been just saving all my great ideas that I've been getting as I've been learning and putting it in there. So it's ready to take me into next year, and I can just go back to it and reflect really easily. And the Google Forms, I feel like I just started today to get that ready so that I could get feedback from the parents about what they liked about what we were doing, what was hard for them, so that I have some good information from parents about how that all went. So definitely I'm going to take those.
Because a lot of the things we've done, you know, remotely could be their homework. You know what I mean? Like we could flip homework a little bit. And because I think a lot of teachers now are familiar with screencasting, you know, it's not so scary now to think about having a flipped model, a little mini one. You know, if I could screencast something really quick, they could watch it at home and then do the activity in class. I think a lot of things might be hopefully a little less scary for teachers.
Yeah. Screencastify, that is a good tool, because and if they were working in a small group, they could, while you were teaching them here, they could be listening to a little lesson you did.
Yep. Or a review. I mean, they could go on and pop onto your Google Classroom anytime and be like, I don't remember what she said. What did she say? Click. you know. I think that'll be powerful for you guys too, as teachers. And Screencastify does cost money, but did you guys see that Loom is free for Teachers for Life now?
Oh no.
Okay, so it's LOOM.
Okay.
And during you know, COVID, they just decided that educators can have it forever because they just wanted to give you guys some teacher appreciation. So if you did run out of our Screencastify, and I don't know exactly what tech services is going to say about that. Leanne's going to say something maybe, but I just know it's very similar. And I just wanted to put that out there for all teachers too, because then that way, you know, you have it free for life and you can screencast through a Loom. Okay.
That's awesome.
So can I add something about Screencastify from my viewpoint as a secondary English teacher?
Yeah.
When you're absent and you wish you were there to give certain kinds of directions. I'm excited to use Screencastify on days when I might have a sub next year.
Yeah, for sure.
And that way the learning can still continue.
Yeah. That's a great idea. And then you just post it to Classroom and they can play it and they can see you and they know like, hey, you planned. This was not, you know,
It's not busy work.
You could even have emergency ones where you're like, oh yeah, this is my emergency. You know, like random stuff, and they'll be like, oh, she planned for us. We have to do this.
Good idea.
Leanne just said something awesome. WebEx guest speakers from around the world are local. How cool would that be to WebEx somebody in now that everybody knows how to use it and you have personal rooms?
That would be great.
Yeah,
you know, that's a great idea. Okay, Leanne says Screencastify expires May 31st, but curriculum is buying a district license.
Oh,
I was like, Leanne's gonna come in with something. She's got to.
Good to know.
Is good. So that's awesome, and especially because you know, she goes is what I hear. But Loom is free too, so that's good. But yay, because a lot of people got used to Screencastify, I think, during this because we did have that trial. So it would be good to stick with what you know. But I did try out Loom just because it was free, and I was like, well, I'm gonna get this while it's there, just in case I need it for anything. But yeah, so that's awesome. Okay. All right, we were wrapping up today. If you guys could say anything to your fellow teachers and or your students or parents out there that are struggling to get through this time, especially if they're working from home or losing jobs. You guys are such, teachers and admin at schools. We're like those like pivotal parts of the community, and I cannot stand when people on social media say like, oh, the teachers have had a nice long summer. I just want to attack them on social media because it's so not true. You guys have been working so hard learning all this new stuff and getting stuff out there for kids. Even if they haven't come, it doesn't lessen, I feel like, what you guys have learned and grown. So like any kind of the comments you guys like want to make to your colleagues or your school or your parents?
Well, I'll just get it started. I really appreciate all of my colleagues at my school level, at the district level. I appreciate how the district has been putting out things to help us and how our teams have come together to work together, and the parents too, who are supporting their kids who couldn't really do it unless the parents were there. I know some of our parents have been really worried, and if there are any parents out there, if you just read with your kids, it's all going to be okay. But we really appreciate all your support and trying to hang in there with us.
Reading is so important, right? Reading is never homework. Let's get that. Let's just read with those kids for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something that I think that I would say, I'm going to steal from my husband. He commented a few weeks ago that if there was ever any question that schools provide so much more than an education, it has been answered now. Yeah. We provide social, emotional support and just so much more for our students. And so just a shout out to every single teacher and every single parent because it's hard.
Yeah, and
everybody's doing their best.
Food services have been given those kids those lunches and their breakfast, and they're handing them out. I mean, for everybody just to rally immediately in education, I think I was so proud of our district. I felt like we took a minute to breathe, and I think Dr. McCord just did a great job letting us breathe and getting everything together, and then just hitting it hard and doing the best we can. I think was really a good call for sure.
Yes. I would just say thank you to everybody, from the parents to the administration to the kids in my class that have been really trying their best just not to give up because it's not easy and for any of us. and, to the aide to help me pack up my student belongings out of their desks, and, just everybody's helping everybody, and we're all here to help everybody. We're in this together, like they keep saying, but it's true. And, just thank you.
Yeah, I was so sad driving to pick up my daughter's trash bag of stuff. It was just on the sidewalk. I was like, this is so depressing. Sure. But you guys are definitely amazing. Tracy, do you have anything to add?
Just big thank yous and air hugs to everybody. Colleagues and parents have been amazingly supportive, and my kids, my students have been phenomenal, and my personal children have been very forgiving of me as well as we're working through all of this. So
my 3-year-old, he's like, wait a minute, Mom.
All the way around.
Spending time with the first grader. Okay, no.
Everybody's doing their absolute best, and I think it's just
for sure. Okay, well, you know what? You guys are amazing, and we appreciate you. I mean, I know this Teacher Appreciation Week, you might not be getting all the swag that you normally do, but I just think you guys are the bee's knees, and I appreciate you guys so much. So thank you also for coming on today. I think it's good for everybody just to hear different perspectives from different grade levels, and I do hope you guys can take some stuff and move it into fall. And let us know how we can support you. And I know that the ties are definitely going to be, they're already spinning their wheels too. So reach out, and thank you guys so much. It was
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Well, that was super, super fun. My final thoughts on the year. What will we take into the next school year? I think you guys covered that super duper well. It's just a lot of different tech, and just knowing that you are more than just teaching content and skills and standards. You are the person they want to see when they walk through that door. You are the person as a teacher that wants them to help them master content. You give them purpose. You give them a sense of belonging. And I think without education and educators, we just wouldn't be having the, I think the collective society is holding together with us. So I appreciate you guys so much. So happy Teacher Appreciation Week to all of the teachers out there. And I just wanted to say thank you for all that you do for your students, especially as a mom, because I know I miss you, and so does my daughter. Remember that, again, if you're feeling alone or isolated during this time, Professional Growth wants you to know that we absolutely are here for you. And if you need to reach out over any of our social media platforms, we want you to do so. And then if you need to reach out to me, I am at the Bits of Brit. It's what's going that way, but it'll come back around. And all of my accounts are public. So if you need to reach out and direct message me in that way, or you can email me, that's fine too. But I sometimes know it's easier if you're just kind of on your phone, you're scrolling social media and you see something posted, and you just want to send it to me and be like, what do you think of this? Or just a chat because, you need somebody to chat with, feel free. Okay. Thank you guys so much. This is, we have one more episode next week. It's going to be on how to finish the year strong. So my guest is going to be Stacey Pascal from our lovely Ties group. She and I are going to talk about finishing the year strong with digital tools. We're going to talk about content. How can they reflect on the whole year? Okay. But also how can they reflect in really, really fun and engaging ways? And so those last few weeks of school where, a lot of the kids may be dropping off, hype that up. We're going to be doing some fun stuff to finish the year strong, even though we're here remotely together. So that'll be next week's episode, and that'll be the last episode before summer of the YouTube live stream. Again, I am Britt Bingold from Gilbert Public Schools Professional Growth and Development. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys have a great weekend.